Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Strong podcast. This is week 15 and episode 15 of the marathon training log for the marathon coming up in Limerick in 2 weeks' time or 2.5 weeks' time. So we are getting really close now. I'm going to reflect on the week as I normally do, a little bit of downs as well as the ups. So it's important to highlight when things don't really go to plan and kind of how you react to them and not let them, I suppose, get inside your head a little bit, and a little bit of perspective in it all is always good. So um, the runs this week were as my normal kind of Monday, Thursday, Saturday. Monday, my plan felt good after coming off the back of a 31k long run the previous week. So I felt really good on that Monday. And then the Thursday kind of started off feeling a bit sluggish and a little bit, just legs were feeling a little bit heavy. And as I got to the end of that run, the calf on my left foot or left leg was starting to kind of irritate me a little bit, feeling a little bit tight. Not in painful, but just kind of dull achy there in the background, more so annoying than anything else. And actually later on that day, my ankle and the calf actually swelled up a bit or felt like a swelling. Um, but was okay, nothing really, no pain wise or whatever. So on Saturday night went out to do, so the plan on Saturday was to get 30 kilometers done. This was the last training run of the block of training before tapering down and the amount of volume or amount of kilometers you're doing to kind of start recovering. So the plan was to hit 30, and if I felt well enough, maybe to push it on to 32 or 33. So that was the mindset behind it all. So started off as normal, got out early because the weather was giving it a little bit crap again, which seems to be the case in all these long runs I've done. Time of the year, you're going to have weather against you. But yeah, kind of from the offset, my calf was kind of at me again. Not in a way to make you stop, but just in a way that was kind of there in the background, kind of annoying you. And you were hoping it wasn't going to kind of get any worse. But continued on, was still like kind of just try and put it in the back of the head and you keep just moving forward. Because like that, it's a steady, slow run. So like that, you're not trying to kill yourself. You're just literally just trying to go through the motions of getting the distance, going through practicing the gels, and that kind of thing, and practicing taking on nutrition and practicing the day before taking on nutrition and all that kind of stuff. But then I got to go 23k, so I kind of did a loop and was kind of coming back towards my starting point, and I left about 23, and the wind started to pick up a good bit. Calf was at me, feet were starting to kind of hurt as well. I could feel them kind of swelling up a little bit. And I actually kind of stopped for a second, and I was like, I'm just sick of this. I'm just absolutely sick of this, and kind of had a little bit of a meltdown, you could say, and kind of just then took a second or two. It was like, well, you've only got a couple of choices here. So I took a gel and started walking again, a little bit just to see with a little bit of walking help. But again, the wind was really strong. But managed to get going again, just a shuffle, jog, just kind of put the head down, and kind of stopped again. I think about 3 kilometers later, same kind of thing. Calf and feet were just annoying me now, and the wind and stuff. But again, that's what lets it get into your head, and you kind of just have to say again, right, you've got a couple of choices here. So you can stay here and moan about it, or you can just walk, or you can just start jogging again. And so yeah, we kept jogging. So I got back jogging, and look, I got back close to the car, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to hit about 28k. I will just call it a day there. Which still is not far off the 30, but like that in your head when you have a target you want to hit and you don't quite hit it, it kind of leaves a little bit of self doubt in the head that, oh Christ, is this where I'm at now? That I've kind of gone backwards from the week before. But I've been reassured this is all part of the process, and it's not uncommon for this to kind of happen like that. If we get, well, again, I think we're so used to seeing maybe through social media and stuff, people doing marathons and doing these kind of stuff. but we don't realize the toll it takes on the body, and the mind as well. So it was all, again, I'm experiencing stuff that's not unexpected, which I suppose is the good thing to take from it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not probably the only person that's gone through this, and people have probably gone through worse in terms of preparation for a marathon. So like that, it was really the first run I hadn't hit. Do you know what I mean? Which is not a bad thing either, because in hindsight it's probably to be expected after Thursday. You know, that could have been the warning, the little sign that, you know, you're at your max here now for where you're at without having like a break like that. I had built consistently up from 24, 26 up to 31. So like that without much of a break. I think I had one down week and then I came back up again, but like not long enough of a break or not long enough of a kind of a deload. But again, that's all part of it. So I suppose when I finished that run, I was kind of annoyed at myself, as it was, as I said, it was the last big run, and I wanted it to go well and kind of be buzzing after it because I was buzzing from the week before. But look, that's what happens. That's what happens. It goes in running and training, and it was funny then. The Saturday, my calf was a bit swollen again, so it's definitely something I'm going to have to watch now for the next 2 weeks. Which probably shows that the taper has come at the exact right time that it needs to come on. So, but look, really happy, I suppose, and proud to get this far. You know, like that again, 15 weeks ago, to say that you've got to this distance, distances that I've never considered, even thought of being able to hit before, because like that, I don't consider myself a runner. You know, I like running, but I don't consider myself an actual, like, I'm not a fast runner. So, and that's not what it's about for me. Like, you know, especially when it comes to something like this, because like that 6 years ago, I was entered in to do this marathon again, and one, yes, COVID was one, but two, I got a really bad arthritis flare up in my feet and would have had to pull out anyway, even if COVID hadn't happened. So to be back around again and to be in a position now to hopefully get from A to B is a far better, I suppose, outlook on it, and that's the stuff you have to kind of remember. But like that, the focus now is recovery. Things can be tweaked. Like distances can be tweaked. You're just trying to keep the stimulus there of the running, of the fitness. You're not going to lose the fitness over the next 2 or 3 weeks of the taper. That's not the idea. You're just trying to help the body now recover and not let all those kind of niggles and kind of tightnesses and everything like that flush out. You know, more a focus on nutrition. Sleep is a big one I have to focus on. Nutrition wise, mobility wise, stretching, kind of that kind of stuff, keeping a little bit of strength training there, but not overloading, just more so movement wise. So that's kind of the plan for the next 2 weeks, is just to taper off the kilometers and bring them right down, and just hope all the body recovers as it should, and that we have nothing leading into the marathon, and that I'm as fresh as I can be to complete it. As I said, the goal with this was always to get from A to B. And like that is the goal. That's the goal that started, and hopefully that will be the outcome at this other side of it. And again, this is something like that, after Saturday, and again a few days later, you're kind of thinking, geez, yeah, I've actually got here. And this is the point you can forget about too when you're looking at a goal, because like that, you are excited at the start, to get in on a goal, whatever the goal may be, whether it's fitness related or weight loss related or whatever. You're excited maybe to get started at something. And I actually think the not getting started, like getting started to me is easy-ish. Once you kind of have a clear goal in mind and a clear kind of plan of action, it's the doing that's the harder, and it's the keep doing that's the harder when things like that don't go to plan. Like, as I said, at the start, your motivation is high. You're excited. You're excited to get going, and like that, the goal can seem so far away. Like, will I ever get there? Kind of way. And if you don't kind of set things up right and have it in your head that things aren't going to go according to plan along the way, well, at least then you have your expectations in line, and it's that keep on going when things don't go to plan, so that's why I think, like, yes, okay, getting started can feel harder or seem harder, but I think it's the consistently doing when things in the middle get harder. So like that, when unknown things come up, work throws you off, families or injuries or that kind of setbacks. It's how you handle yourself in them situations, because you don't know what they're going to happen at the start. But again, you kind of have to set yourself up for any possibility. And it's how you react in those weeks when things don't go to plan. It'd be very easy to get down on yourself. Like me last week, I was a bit annoyed after the run, but like that, looking back at all the other 14 weeks of training you put in, to get yourself to even be in this position to be going out to try and complete a marathon, kind of way. Like, that wouldn't have happened if you didn't keep going in the middle when stuff was difficult. As I said, things outside of your control, even like for me, the big one was weather, like, um, and I think like that with goals, once you have a starting point, it's about building up the routine, the movements, and the habits, and the ability to repeat them over and over and over again, and tweak them and adjust if you need be. But it's the ability to be able to keep repeating those core things that are going to keep you moving long term. Like, again, you'll get to a goal, yes, 2 weeks' time, I'll have hopefully completed a marathon. But like that, after the recovery, my training and stuff will still continue, kind of way. Like, it's just something you just end up doing, and it doesn't stop at a goal. It doesn't stop when a goal is achieved either. So I think for me, and for me as coaching people, is that's what I see is the getting started. People might say is the hard part, but I think it's the keeping going when things don't go to plan and don't go well, and something happens, and how you look at it and how you perceive it and how you react to it. That's really going to, get you the results or get you things you want long term within your fitness and within your health and within, that whole scope of things. I think that's a really important point to take away, because like that, as I said at the start, you're excited about the thoughts of completing a marathon. It scares you and it excites you. And now that I'm here, like 2 weeks out, I still have the same feeling of it scares me, but it also excites me. The kind of way? I think that's a good way to be, because then it means something to you. Rather than just getting stuck into something and you're just doing something for the sake of doing something and it doesn't mean anything to you. So like, that's why really at the start, it's getting clear on those things. And then it's the importance of keeping going and knowing how to react when things don't go maybe well in the middle, because they're not going to go to plan all the time. And you have to be aware of that and willing to adjust. And it's the mental battle around that too. But that's things like, for me as a coach, is what I love helping people with. It's helping people figure that stuff out. Structure and stuff with things on one plan. How do we change training sessions? How do we juggle this week? Okay, you have loads of things going on. This happened, that happened. Okay, what are the different scenarios we can go through to keep you moving forward? Because you have a goal. You set a goal out at the start that you really wanted to go after. So how do we keep that thing on track? And that's the process I like to take people through. It's that rebuilding at the start, getting them set up, coming back, getting into a routine, getting into that structure, falling back maybe in love with fitness again and movement and training and all that side of stuff. But then then helping people manage setbacks and things not going to plan, and all that stuff in the middle, because it's easy to put up when everything goes to plan. It's I think the real wins are when things don't go to plan, and it's how you react to them and how you move forward from it. So that's really something I really like helping people with, and figuring all that out, problem solving it, and I suppose the mental side of that too, and the mindset side of that thing as well. But yeah, we're nearly at the end of this marathon. I suppose, journey per se. With the training is done, really, like I will have my short runs as normal for the week ahead, and then probably around the 22K mark of a run, 22K. Again, depending on how niggled and things are feeling. I don't push it, but like that on the day, I just kind of feel it out and see how I'm going. And then we're into really just taper right back down again and hopefully be fresh for the week of the marathon. But yeah, I really be interested in any feedback or any comments anyone has on questions around all that. Are you someone that finds you get started, but then things fall by the wayside and you don't know how to react to when things crop up to keep you on track with your training, with your nutrition, with your goals, mindset side of stuff? Really interested and open to helping you with stuff like that. So feel free to message me on Instagram, Karen_PT. And yeah, we will chat again next week.